Hi, my name is Lisa, and today I'm going to read Frog and Toad Together by Arnold LeBeau, and I'm going to read the last two chapters. This one is called Cookies. Cookies. Toad baked some cookies. These cookies smell very good, said Toad, and he ate one. They taste even better, he said, and Toad ran to Frog's house. Frog, Frog, cried Toad, taste these cookies that I made. Frog ate one of the cookies. These are the best cookies I've ever eaten, said Frog. Frog and Toad ate many cookies, one after another. You know, Toad, said Frog with his mouth full, I think we should stop eating. We will soon be sick. You're right, said Toad. Let's eat one last cookie, and then we will stop. Frog and Toad ate one last cookie. There were many cookies left in the bowl, Frog, said Toad. Let us eat one very last cookie, and then we'll stop. Frog and Toad ate one very last cookie. We must stop eating, cried Toad as he ate another. Yes, said Frog, reaching for a cookie. We need willpower. What is willpower? Asked Toad. Willpower is trying hard not to do something that you really want to do, said Frog. You mean like trying not to eat all of these cookies? Asked Toad. Right, said Frog. Look at them both eating their cookies, deciding what they should do. Frog put the cookies in a box. There, he said, now we'll not eat any more cookies. But we can open the box, said Toad. That is true, said Frog. Frog tied some string around the box. There, he said, now we will not eat any more cookies. But we can cut the string and then open the box, said Toad. That is true, said Frog. Frog got out a ladder and he put the box up on a high shelf. There, said Frog, now we will not eat any more cookies. But we can climb the ladder, take the box down from the shelf, cut the string, and open the box, said Toad. That is true, said Frog. Frog climbed the ladder, took the box down from the shelf, he cut the string and opened the box. Frog took the box outside and he shouted in a loud voice, Hey birds, here are some cookies. Birds came from everywhere and they picked up all the cookies in their beaks and flew away. Now we have no more cookies to eat, said Toad sadly. Not even one. There's the birds. Yes, said Frog, but we have lots and lots of willpower. You keep it all, Frog, said Toad. I'm going home to bake a cake. I don't think that's called willpower. The next chapter is called Dragons and Giants. Dragons and Giants. Frog and Toad were reading a book together, and the people in this book are brave, said Toad. They fight dragons and giants, and they're never afraid. I wonder if we're brave, said Frog. Frog and Toad looked in the mirror. We look brave, said Frog. Yes, but are we? Asked Toad. Frog and Toad went outside. We can try to climb this mountain, said Frog. That should tell us if we're brave. Frog went leaping over rocks, and Toad came puffing up after him. They came to a dark cave, and a big snake came out of the cave. Hello, Lunch, said the snake when he saw Frog and Toad, and he opened his wide mouth. Frog and Toad jumped away, and Toad was shaking. I'm not afraid, he cried. He's trying to be brave. They climbed higher, and then they heard a loud noise. Many large stones were rolling down the mountain. It's an avalanche, cried Toad. Frog and Toad jumped away, and Frog was trembling. I am not afraid, he said. Then they came to the top of a mountain, and the shadow of a hawk fell over them. Frog and Toad jumped under a rock. The hawk flew away. We are not afraid, screamed Frog and Toad at the same time. Then they ran down the mountain very fast. They ran past the place where they saw the avalanche. They ran past the place where they saw the snake. They ran all the way to Toad's house. Frog, I am glad to have a brave friend like you, said Toad. He jumped into the bed and pulled the covers over his head. And I am happy to know a brave person like you, said Toad. Toad, said Frog, and he jumped into the closet and shut the door. Toad stayed in the bed and Frog stayed in the closet. And they stayed there for a long time, just feeling very brave together. The dream. Toad was asleep, and he was having a dream. He was on a stage, and he was wearing a costume. And Toad looked into the dark, and Frog was sitting in the theater. And a strange voice came out and said, "Presenting the greatest Toad in all of the world." Toad took a deep bow. Frog looked smaller as he shouted, "Hooray for Toad!" "Toad will now play the piano very well," said the strange voice. Toad played the piano and he did not miss a note. "Frog," cried Toad, "can you play the piano like this?" "No," said Frog. It seemed to Toad that Frog looked even smaller. "Toad will now walk on a high wire and he will not fall down," said the voice. Toad walked on the high wire. "Frog," cried Toad, "can you do tricks like this?" "No," peeped Frog, who looked very, very small. It looks like Frog is getting smaller. "Toad will now dance, and he will be wonderful," said the voice. "Frog, can you be as wonderful as this?" said Toad as he danced all over the stage. There was no answer, and Toad looked into the theater. Frog was so small that he could not be seen or heard. "Frog," said Toad, "where are you?" There was still no answer. "Frog, what have I done?" cried Toad. "I'm right here," said Frog. And he stood up, and Frog was standing near Toad's bed. "Wake up, Toad," he said. "Frog, is that really you?" said Toad. "Of course it's me," said Frog. "And you are you, your own right size?" asked Toad. "I think so," said Frog. Toad looked at the sunshine coming from the window. "Frog," he said, "I'm so glad that you came over." "I always do," said Frog. Then Frog and Toad ate a big breakfast, and after that they spent a fine, long day together. So again, this was Frog and Toad Together by Arnold LaBelle. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's one of my favorites. Thanks.